This is what they technically call power steering. Okay, we're doing something a little bit different today. It's not a Harley today. This is for a Honda Trike, a Honda Valkyrie Trike actually. This is, I believe it's a 6-degree rake kit. Okay, whether your bike has this or not, the first thing that we did was remove the windshield because we need to be able to pull those forks out of the triple trees. Okay, so I got the bike lifted up and I'm going to take the front wheel off. I did lift it up on the engine. I did a little bit of research on this. They make specialty jacks for it, but people have just put wood underneath it and lifted it up. I got to remove the side lights, the headlight, the gauges, all that stuff got to come off the triple tree anyways. So I'm going to try to get everything stripped off of here. So I just have to pull the forks out and then remove the triple trees. All right, so next it looks like we need an Allen socket, 17 millimeter. Oh. We should just have to pull off one of these calipers to get out of the way of the wheel. I'm gonna get this fender off here because it's gotta come off anyways, so I get the forks out. You don't want to pull both the forks out with the fender on. So we're gonna have to pull these supports for the brake lines out so we can get this fender up and off. Okay, that nut is welded on the inside. Using the LTT screwdriver.
Triggers, I think we were trying to use that.
Oh.
Free line? Yeah. So there was nowhere to go and it rolled towards you.
Why would...
Alright, I got to the point where I couldn't get this off. I had to make a connector so I could get this off from the bike. I didn't want to just leave it hanging here while I'm taking all this stuff out, so I just made a connector for this. So if it ever has to come off again, all you gotta do is unplug it. All of this was in the headlight, which will just be out of the way. These, we don't have to worry about these because we'll take the fork tube out. Just about got this one out. I'm gonna loosen it up right now and pull it out. Now fork height doesn't matter for this kit because they go all the way up in. Left fork out. So on this lower one, there's two. Now this fork can come out when we loosen this one. Perfect. Right leg out. I'm gonna pull these gauges and then I can pull, actually I have to pull his little accessory clock off of here and then I'll be able to pull this stem nut and then I can pull all this out. Get these gauges off. One's an 8 on the bolt side. The inside is a 10. This is the style that just connects up to the wheel and gives you a readout. And it just has a plug for light. Each of these has 2 bolts holding it in. They look like an Allen bolt and they have a little grommet washer in here. I'm gonna wait to pull those out. I'm just gonna get this off. I'm gonna pull these handlebars so I can lay them back. These risers are 19 millimeter. Man, that right one was very tight, but this left one was. Bit of wobble in here, and this powder is a galvanic corrosion, and it was actually starting to eat away at the aluminum. We have our nice Harley Davidson tank protector on our Honda. Top tree off. So this has a little locking washer in here to bend those tabs out and then take it loose. This can come right off. Along with the washer, the lock washer. Here's where there we go. This is what's going to be holding your bearings in. Now it's getting ready to come out. There's the top bearing cover. These bearings were shot. You can see the bottom wasn't too bad, but the top is locked up. Now this whole piece can just get reassembled. Need to take, I'll have to check. I don't know if this comes off the lock. All this can get screwed back together and go back to the customer because that there is no longer going to be used. All right, so we need to pull the bearing races on there. These look like they don't need to be pulled. They can just be pressed out with a punch. This top looks like it's going to be easier than the bottom. There's the top race out. Okay, so this may be where we need a bearing puller or a bearing race puller. All right, so I wanted to mention this tool that I got off of Amazon, and I'll leave a link in the description, which, by the way, will be an affiliate link if you'd like to help the channel out. This is a bearing race puller. This is what I use to pull the race out of here. This, you simply tighten this, it goes in, pulls it down a little bit, grabs the race, and then you can simply drive it out. Worked really well. Just want to share that with you guys. What would make this easier would be just a simple driver. I do not have one of them. Oops, that pulling it in crooked. God damn it. Alright, so that's the improper way to do it. Okay, so we've got the cups in there. We've got the bearings in. Got the triple tree sat on there. It uses the regular bolt here to thread into it. We've got the seal bearing on there, and now we just need to put this in the stem here. Okay. All right, there we go. So how this works is we'll put the final torque setting on this, and then there is a set screw that goes in the back here to tighten that bolt, to cinch that down, to ensure that that does not come loose, because this bolt threads directly up into here. Okay, so we're going to back this off. And this nut here is 13 foot-pounds. I'm using my 3/8 torque wrench because the 1/2 inch doesn't go that low. Put the bars on first. These I'm only using blue Loctite. So these fucking bolts will not go in here without damaging the aluminum. So I'm gonna have to figure out reaming this hole a little bit. All right, so we got the handlebars mounted. I had to ream out the holes. They were just a little bit too small. I don't know if these are the stock bars that were on here, but that's the size of bolt that they use, so I had to ream it out a little bit. The gentleman isn't changing handlebars, but that's done. Okay, on the VTX fork trike kit, you're gonna need extensions. These are 2-inch extensions. These will extend your fork tubes down 2 inches. These are sold by VTXTREME also. And I just want to point out, this tube is a little bit different than the other fork tube. But essentially the same. All you're doing is removing this fork cap from the top and putting this in between here, and then screwing your fork cap onto there. All right, now we're gonna get the forks put in there. So normally what I like to do is I'll just put these bolts in here. I'll get one tight, then the other one will pull out and put the Loctite on it, cinch it down, get it torqued, and then pull this one back out, Loctite it, and then put it back in and torque it. The specified torque for this set of triple trees is 30 foot-pounds on these pinch bolts. Here's where we got to pull all this stuff off of here. These two, the wire retainers, and the gauge mounts. Okay, we got the gauge pod mount installed. I'm gonna get this headlight remounted and get everything put back on here, and we'll get the other lights mounted and then put everything else back on. Now, one thing we need to figure out is VTXTREME said we'll have to figure out how to extend these, because these now are going to be too short because we extended them about that far. Okay, now we need to get those gauge pods remounted so we can run the wiring. and make sure everything gets tucked up in this headlight. Alright, so I didn't realize my camera died, so this is where I was leaving off. This is all mounted. I already got you footage of this with my phone. Okay, I told you guys I'd give you a better look at the headlight wiring situation. This, like that stuff right there, is the type of shit that I hate. And the people that were in here before me connected wires and had no concern for how they were routed. Alright, so that is it. That's the headlight connector. That's all we got to connect back up. And I put the headlight back in. Alright, so the headlight is installed. Now, on to the rest of it. I'm probably going to put the wheel on first. Don't forget, your speedo is your spacer on this side. Can't forget about this spacer. This rides in the bearing on the seal. There we go. Alright. That's in. Remember, we got our giant 17mm Allen socket. Don't forget, we gotta put these in. Okay, now that we got both of those on, axles tight, these are tight. Now we can set this thing down on the ground fine. Pretty amazing. Just a different set. Has such a nice kind of hot rod look now. I like it. Now we're about to ruin it, putting the rest of the stuff back up. Alright, so we're gonna get the fender on next, and then we'll get the brake lines mounted, or the brake calipers mounted. And remember, I still need to extend this. I'll show you exactly how I do it so you know, because they didn't tell anybody else, I guess, when they did it. So if your Valkyrie has this little cage on the front, you need to be aware these go in there as well. So when you're putting this fender on and you have the rail, the little protector fender thing, you can get these put in because there is nuts in the fender, and then the other piece goes on afterwards. Alright, so if you have one of these on your bike, you need to install it. Throw it in the garbage. The trike is done. I've got the brake hose extended out. This is, I picked these up at the hardware store. These are chrome, and I got stainless bolts. So this is 1/4 and this is 3/4, extending it out 1 inch. Even though we extended the fork tubes 2 inches, I didn't need the same amount of room, and I didn't want to take up too much of the hoses on the handlebars. All right, so with that done, I did have a wire that came loose in here that I had to reconnect. One thing to mention, don't forget that now that you're changing the angle that this sits at, you will have to bend the bracket because the adjustment is not enough in the screw. All right, other than that, this thing rides really nice. I'll have that video coming out after this one. And there we have it, guys. Another install done. I don't notice that much of a difference. This gentleman is older, so it was hard for him to steer it. So hopefully this works out perfectly for him and will benefit him greatly. He can ride more, you know, have his wife on here with him. So, all right, that's going to be it for this one, guys. If this helped you out at all, or you just like what I'm doing here, give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.